Building a personal brand is the biggest opportunity to make money online today. You don't need to be famous, you don't need a big team, you just need an iPhone, a laptop, and the courage to start. Now, every day, people who are probably less talented than you are blowing up online. They're building their audiences, landing clients, and more importantly, they're buying their freedom over their lives instead of stuck in the rat race working for somebody else. Now, maybe you might feel stuck, and maybe it feels like your 9-to-5 is draining your time, your energy, and your potential. And maybe deep down, you know you were meant for more. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you the full step-by-step blueprint you can use to quit your 9-to-5 and start making money online. When I started, I went from being a regular tech sales employee to now building an online business generating over $1 million in sales, all by building my personal brand around my skill sets. And something you should know is what you're gonna learn in this video is just a small glimpse of what I teach in my coaching program, Founder X, where I work closely with my clients to help them craft high-ticket offers, attract leads with creating content and building a personal brand, and monetizing that personal brand so they can actually generate a real income and quit their 9-to-5. Some of my clients I worked with, they literally signed their first clients at high ticket prices, meaning thousands of dollars within 2 weeks of working with me. So if you want some direct help doing this with me, I put a link in the description that walks you through a free training of my entire Founder X process so you know how we work and how we can best help you. And we will help you build a custom strategy to escape that 9-to-5 and build the business of your dreams. But for now, let's get into the video. Now, before we start anything, the first question you must ask yourself is why even build a personal brand in the first place? Because you probably understand there's going to be a lot of different business models out there like affiliate marketing, Shopify dropshipping. So why should you invest your time creating content to build your personal brand? Now, here's the thing about personal branding. It's really just an extension of who you are. You're using your real name, you're putting yourself out there. So it's gonna be an asset that pays you dividends for life because you will use your name for the rest of your life. And so the more popular you get, the more well-known and respected you are in your particular industry, the more people naturally will want to work with you. And that's why everyone is building their brand, because it is the biggest opportunity right now. And no matter what business you decide to start in the future, whether it's an agency, coaching, consulting, online courses, maybe it's a physical product kind of business, right? If you have a personal brand, people will buy from you because they like and trust you. All these other things like coaching, products, they're all commodity products and services, right? Meaning anybody can copy you. So why do we make certain purchasing decisions? When we buy from Nike, it's not because the shoe is particularly better than Adidas or Puma or whatever. It's because we like the brand. We like what it stands for. We like the aesthetic. We like the vibe. And that is brand. But you're just taking the same concepts and doing it for your personal self. Now, brand is going to be the differentiator in the commoditized world. With ChatGPT and AI, like everybody has the same information. Like you can learn anything online. So it's your personality and your story and how you put yourself out there that will make the difference. And that's how you stand out from the rest of the crowd. Now, when it comes to building a personal brand, a lot of people are going to make a ton of excuses, right? Let me give you the common ones. I don't know what to talk about. So they just freeze and they never create content. I'm not good at making content. Well, literally nobody's good at making content. Everybody starts from zero, including myself. I don't have time. Well, if you don't have time, then you're never going to make your dreams a reality. So you don't have time to fulfill your dreams and become the best version of yourself, right? Like if you're working a 9-to-5, you know, it's like you have the weekends, you have, you can work during work, right? You can work after work, you can work before work. You need to find a time for your dreams. Otherwise, you're going to stay in the rat race forever. And it's just like a mental fallacy, right? You're holding yourself back by having that limiting belief. And if you're watching Netflix, if you're watching YouTube, if you're watching, the UFC and just messing around with your friends all the time, drinking beer after work, then you do have time. You're just not using it wisely. Now that we understand why you need a personal brand, why you should be building one, and we got rid of your excuses, the next step is looking at a personal brand from a business model perspective. Now, I have personally generated over $1 million in digital products and services and sales using my own name and personal brand, right? And so here are the lessons that I've learned that I will pass to you in this video. The game is really two things, and it's really simple. It's about capturing and monetizing attention. That's it. If you were to strip away all the complexities of what building an online business is only two things. Let's get a bunch of attention and get people to know who we are, and then let's make some money from it, and that's it, right? When you're building a personal brand, you have to understand that your job is primarily to get attention, right? You need to create content, put it out there, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, it doesn't matter which platform you choose, the fundamentals are the same. You're out here getting attention. So when you get attention, a lot of people will watch your stuff, and if they like you, they start to follow you, subscribe, and they just keep up with your content because they enjoy it, they get value from it. Once you have the attention, you're gonna have different call to actions or different programs, coaching, consulting, courses, right? And you're gonna monetize that attention, like liquidating that attention. So you get a bunch of attention and then you make money from it. You get more attention and you make money from it, right? So it's like this wave of let's make a bunch of content, get as much attention as possible, get as much exposure, go on interviews and podcasts, and then make the money from it, right? You need to be thinking about this like a business. You're not just creating content for fun and we're gonna see what happens. Your job is to create to sell. Make the content with the intention to sell something. A lot of people are gonna say, oh, like I don't wanna sell out, I'm afraid to sell. That's just amateur talk. Every single big influencer out there that you see, the only reason they can be so big and hire a big team to do whatever it is that they do is because they make money from the attention. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. And if they say, oh, like, I don't monetize, they're lying. They absolutely do monetize. What they don't show is the way they monetize. Maybe they monetize through email, maybe they monetize through DMs and calls, but maybe they just don't show it as much publicly, but they definitely do make a lot of money. Otherwise, they wouldn't make the content in the first place. So I'll give you an example, one that everybody knows. We're gonna talk about Mr. Beast. Now, Mr. Beast is a master when it comes to getting attention. With all the crazy game shows and stunts that he pulls off, he's always constantly in the news and he's practically the biggest YouTuber on the planet, right? Now, with the attention and his audience, a lot of it are younger people, he's gonna be able to create so many different types of businesses. And I'm going to list a couple, but there's so many more, right? He has Lunchly, which is like, basically you go on a field trip and you pack some lunch. He has like a toy line, right? Beast Labs. Then he has Feastables, chocolate. Then he has ViewStats, which is a software for creators. He has an agency, a VC that invests in other creators, right? The list goes on and on and on. And the interesting part is if you dig deep into each one of these businesses, he is not the CEO. He is not the one that is making the chocolate, right? There's going to be key leaders at every single company. So what is his job? His job is to be the creator, the face of the brand, and to attract as much attention as possible. And the team will find ways to liquidate that attention. So why personal branding is one of the best models out there is because you don't have to commit to a single business idea. You only have to commit to the idea that it's your job to get attention and create content. From there, you can decide if you want to build a software, start an agency, do coaching, do consulting. And if you try, let's say, an agency and you're like, man, it's too much work, I'm gonna do coaching. You can, because you still have a brand. So for me, if I decided to do a studio helping other people edit their YouTube videos, I would be able to get clients tomorrow, mainly because I have a brand, I have 300K subs, and my team is good at editing. So if I offer that service and just charge thousands of dollars per month for that, I can instantly get clients because people already know who I am. Now, if I did a coaching program helping other people edit their videos, I can also do that as well. So the potential and there's no limitations on what I can do because I have a following. So the same with you. When you're starting out, you just have to understand you need to keep building that following, and over time you will understand your avatar more and more, and eventually you will find authentic ways to monetize without selling out. Now, if you're building a personal brand using your skills, knowledge, and experience, right? Let's say you learn something at your job, or you're very passionate about AI or how to stay disciplined, right? Things that are more education. I found the easiest route to make money and sell things is to sell coaching, consulting, courses, and digital services, right? These are the easiest when it comes to educational type of content. Because when you're educating and teaching people, it's going to be kind of hard to sell them like a t-shirt or, like burgers or something like that, right? It just doesn't fit your wheelhouse. If you're helping people with problems and you're teaching them something, some people are going to raise their hand and say like, hey, I'm down to buy a full course, or I'm down to do one-on-one coaching with you. How much does it cost? Because there are always going to be people that, there's going to be a lot of people that want the free content and they're never going to buy anything. And that's the majority of people. But there's always that 1% that's willing to spend thousands of dollars to work directly with the person they like, right? And you'd be surprised, depending on your niche, there are going to be a lot of people who have money to spend, assuming assuming you can solve a problem. And this is why you see so many creators selling courses, right? You might see like someone's doing productivity or helping other people study, and suddenly they make a course on, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be a creator just like me. Why do they do that? And I will explain the kind of behind the scenes of how the industry works. The reason why people sell courses is because when you're selling a digital product, so a course is like media, right? You film it once and you sell it forever. There are only two kind of businesses that you do this. It's going to be software and media. For a software product, let's say if you're using, Gmail or something, you're paying monthly subscriptions. They made it once and they sell it forever to as many people as they can, and they're making a ton of money, right? It's very scalable. Courses are the exact same way, except you don't need any technical ability. You just film like you would a YouTube video, put it into a concise course, and you teach it and sell it, right? So you make it once and you sell it forever. So it doesn't matter how many students sign up, it's the same amount of work, right? Now, the reality is, and most people are not going to say this, the goal is to make as much money as possible while doing as little as possible. Now, it sounds crazy, or maybe it sounds greedy, but let's look at it from a reverse perspective. Who would want to work as hard as possible and get paid as little as possible? Nobody. We all want the opposite, whether we want to admit it or not. So that's why people lean into courses versus doing an agency, for example, right? Now, agencies can make money too, don't get me wrong. But the reason why people do courses is because they don't want to deal with the complexities and the headache of scaling people. And so they're like, I'd rather have a lean team and just sell courses. And it works because you're providing value to people. There's nothing wrong with that. However, there are pros and cons to selling courses, providing services, and maybe a hybrid between the two, or even coaching and consulting, right? So for educational type of creators, like how should you be thinking about these things? So I mapped it out on a matrix and I'll show you the pros and cons. So for services, here are the pros. It's easy to sell because you're basically saying, hey, you have this problem, I will fix it, I will do the work, you pay me, right? So let's say, you're a website designer and you're making content about websites and somebody wants to build a website. Well, you just do it for them and you get paid. Easy as that. So it's the easiest to get top line revenue, meaning you're just doing work for other people, whether you're doing it as a freelance capacity or you're hiring other people as an agency. So you can make a lot of high revenue with that because you don't need a big following when you're providing agency services. Now the con is it's actually real work because you have to do things for them. That's why they're paying you so much, right? And when you're talking about scaling and you want to grow bigger, it's complex because you have to scale people. And people are not the easiest to scale. Whereas if you did media, for example, it's easier to scale because you make it once, you sell it forever. Now, the next step is coaching and consulting. Okay, so when you're coaching and consulting, you're not doing the work for them. You're teaching someone or guiding them or holding them accountable to achieving the goal. So for Founder X, for example, I coach people on how to build a personal brand and monetize. So I'm not going to go out and make the content for them, but when they make the content, I'm going to give them feedback and tell them how to improve it so they can get much better results with me than without me. So that's high value right there. Now, does it really take a lot of my time? Not necessarily, but I have to have the skill to come in, look at their business, give them advice, and it actually has to work and they need to get value from it, right? So it's more lightweight on the delivery side. And more, it's becoming more mainstream to hire coaches at high ticket prices. It's just like a cultural thing, right? Whereas like 5 years ago when I kind of started this whole online business journey, or 7 years ago, like online high ticket coaching wasn't as popular. Nowadays, it's like everyone's doing it on Instagram, right? So it's easier to sell. And you can make a lot of revenue doing this with a small following because if you're selling something that's really high value, like people will buy. Now, the cons of this is sometimes clients will pay you and they don't take action and they blame you. They ask for a refund. And the thing is, you have to understand, like, not everyone will get the result no matter how good you are at coaching because some people just don't do the work. Now, the other con is you got to have some credibility to teach your thing. Otherwise, no one's going to buy, right? So if you're a fitness coach and you're fat and you're not healthy, you don't eat right, well, you cannot be a fitness coach because who's going to pay you? You didn't achieve the result that they want. So you do have to like have some kind of credibility in order to be a coach, right? You don't have to be an expert. You just need to be one step ahead of them. And then it's your ability to sell that will persuade them to, pay or not. Now let's talk about courses, right? Courses, it's the easiest to deliver. And, once you make it, you can just focus all your time on getting more attention and driving people to a landing page so they buy the course, right? I've done that before on my YouTube channel. So the hard part about courses is that it's not as easy to sell for high prices because nobody wants to spend $5,000 on a course that you don't talk to anybody, but they would spend $5,000 on one-on-one coaching for like 2 months, right? So then courses kind of becomes a game of volume. How many people can you get in the door, and how healthy can you keep your profit margins, and how much content you make? It's just volume, right? So pros and cons to each it just depends. If you're starting with a small following and you want to make as much money as possible, probably the easiest type of work, in my opinion, if you actually have a skill, is coaching and consulting. Now, if you're willing to do the work, services is also good as well, right? So, there's no perfect answer, but just understand, you could do any of these. It just depends on what you personally want. Now, for me, when I started my online journey, I just straight up went into courses. I started selling courses for $10 to $20, and I made a lot of money with that. Probably 150,000 people bought this course, or courses, the series of courses. And then I learned how to do more mid-ticket prices from $300 to $500, and a lot of people bought. And then now I do more higher end with FounderX, which is in the thousands of dollars, right? So I've done the entire spectrum. It's each one has its pros and cons. When you're selling $10 to $20, you need a lot of people to make it worth it. But when you're selling something for let's say 2 to 5K, you don't need that many people. So if you're selling something high value, I actually recommend just going high ticket, because you just have to go for that 0.1% of your audience to buy, right? And it's realistic for it to happen. So if your goal is to quit your 9 to 5, well, if you build a YouTube following based on a specific skill that you actually have and you're good at, it's not unreasonable to get a couple clients a month, even if you have a small following. And a couple clients a month at 2 to 5K, you can make 10K a month, pretty simply, right? Now, but if you were to scale, the way, in my opinion, to do it is to do a hybrid between a course and group coaching. So I personally do this myself in FounderX. And FounderX also has a one-on-one component too, but the main thing is the course and the group coaching. So why I do this is because when you make the course, you just have to keep updating it so people have the freshest material. That's great. Make it one seller forever. Now, group coaching is cool because let's say I do it once or twice a week. No matter how many clients I have, whether it's 5, 50, or 500, if I only come on once or twice a week and coach everyone at the same time in a group capacity, it's the same amount of time for me, but it's still high value. So right now in 2025, this is the meta, course and group coaching, because then the creator, the person that, actually put the program together, they're on the calls every single week. And so everyone that buys for high ticket, they're like, oh, I get to talk to Patrick, right? So that's a lot of value versus if it was just a, self-serve course. And really, if you can't dedicate 2 hours a week to go on a live call to help your community, why are you even doing courses for? You probably shouldn't be in this business, right? Now, if this is interesting for you so far and it's getting the gears and turning in your head on what you can do if you want to do a course, coaching, consulting, it's really just a glimpse of what I teach in the FounderX program, right? Because I've been helping a lot of people quit their 9 to 5, create an offer, sell something high ticket, build an audience, and really just monetize and make thousands of dollars literally 2 weeks after working with me, right? A lot of my students are able to get to 10K months after 2 months of working with me, and they just completely quit their 9 to 5. So if that's interesting for you and you want to learn how this actually works, again, I have a link in the description where you can sign up for a free training, which will break down exactly how I do teach in the FounderX program and exactly what you get. And then from there, if it resonates with you, you can book a call with me and my team, and we will strategize with you to see if it's the right fit and what your next step is moving forward if you were to build your personal brand with my coaching. So link is in the description for that, but let's continue the video. So now that you understand the motto of why you should build a personal brand, you kind of understand what you can sell and how you can actually make 10K a month. The next step is you need to figure out which direction you want to go, meaning you probably are a little lost on what type of content you want to make, what exactly your offer should be, why anyone would pay you thousands of dollars for you to coach them. So let's get into it. So if you're lost on which direction to go, there are a couple key things to pay attention to. The first is what you should be talking about in your content should be related around what your accomplishments are and what currently makes you money, right? That's step one. It doesn't always have to be, but I recommend this, right? Because if you have a job, and let's say you're an accountant, a sales rep, HR person, right? That means you basically been working for somebody else and they're paying you money for a certain skill. If they're paying you a full-time salary for this, it's a skill that's valuable into the market. So for me, when I started, I was a tech sales rep making 6 figures, right? And I figured it took me a lot of time and energy to learn all the skill sets to get to that point. And so if I package all of my knowledge that I've gained over those years and put it into a course, I'm pretty sure somebody would buy it. And so that's what I did, and that's how I made my initial money online, making online courses, just packaging what I had already known and putting it into a course. That's the easiest way to start because you don't have to learn anything new. You just have to package what's inside your head. So you have to just ask, okay, are there people willing to pay money to get the same result as you? And if yes, you got a business. So I actually have a client in the FounderX program. She was a sales development rep, right? An early, like a sales rep with less than 1 year of experience, and her job was to generate leads. And when she started working with me, she's like, okay, Patrick, I've only been working at this company less than a year, but I'm making 6 figures. Like, what kind of business can I do? And I told her like, well, are you like doing good at your job? She's like, yeah, I'm doing amazing. Like, I'm like one of the top people. And so I said, okay, what if you taught people how to get the job that you have? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people willing to pay money to make 6 figures as a sales development rep, which is like going above and beyond. She's like, oh, like people would pay for that? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, there are people who have horrible jobs working as analysts or accountants or, you know, mortgage brokers, but they can't sell anything and they don't earn any salary. Like, they're down to make the switch, but they just don't know how to break into tech sales. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. So I sat down with her, helped her make her offer. And literally that same month, she sold somebody for like $2,000, right? And this is someone who had less than 1 year of sales experience, and she sold a coaching program on how you can become a high-paying tech sales rep. So don't think you need 10 years of experience to start coaching, right? This person literally had one, and now they're making 10K a month helping people get high-paying jobs. As long as you can get the result for the person, they are going to pay. Which leads me to my third point. You have to really think about, how are you going to deliver the result? Are you going to do a course? Are you going to do a coaching program? Are you just going to apply for them and, you know, like do all the work as much as possible and they do the rest, right? Like a done with you kind of thing. No matter what you decide to do, understand they all kind of work. You just have to pick the one that works best for you and what people are willing to pay for. So, and at this stage, you might be thinking, okay, like, should I go high ticket? Should I go low ticket? Should I go middle ticket? How much should I charge for my products, right? Typically, you want to start with one. Doing multiple at the same time in the beginning is hard. When you get more advanced and you have a following, having multiple products and a price point for every single person makes sense. But for now, just start with one. If you have a small following, but you provide high value to a specific niche, I would go high ticket, 2 to 5K, because you can monetize and make good money off a small following. Why not, right? I have one of my clients, he does, you know, social media coaching and editing for, you know, really big companies in the glass industry. And he doesn't have the biggest following, but he's kind of networked in his space, and he can be the number one person in that space because no one's really doing it. So he found a niche, and he's very competitive, and he loves content creation, and he just helps the people in his niche that he's been working as an employee for the last like 10, 15 years, right? So you got to think more creatively, like, use your experience that you have from work. Don't just abandon it. Like, there is something there that you can use to build your own thing, and it's going to be so much easier. That, and compare that to like starting a whole new different type of business that you know nothing about. That's going to be hard. Chance of failing is really high. But if you use your skills that you've been developing over the past few years, especially if you're getting paid well, just transition it over and do it for yourself, you know? Now, if you're in niches where, you know, there's not a lot of people in it, but it's more volume, you have to charge lower, right? So let's say you're helping people like become, you know, the best Fortnite player. Like, very, you know, not many people are going to pay $5,000 to pay you for coaching. So maybe a course on how to become a good Fortnite player makes sense at a lower price ticket because you're charging, you know, younger people, right? So it's like, you have to understand, how much volume do you have? And what's the maximum you could charge? That's how I would think about it, right? Like, why would you charge lower if you know you can charge higher? So think about that. What is the volume you have? What's the maximum money you can charge where it's like the maximum amount of revenue? If you charge too high, not a lot of people will buy. If you charge too low, you're undercharging yourself. So you have to find that middle ground. And even when it comes to high ticket, like, you shouldn't always charge the highest price, right? Like, more expensive doesn't mean you're better. Sometimes if you charge lower but have more volume and that really hits that demographic, that's going to work so much better, right? So it's really like, you have to like create the content, talk to your customers, and feel out what is the vibe, like what are people willing to spend. And you cannot just have theory and think about, oh, I'm going to do this and let's ask ChatGPT to see what price it should be. You actually have to put in the work and get on the phone and sell people so you actually know what they're willing to spend on. And now once you have something to sell, I need to kind of explain how this whole personal brand, business, and ecosystem works. Now, when you are building a business where the founder is the face and is the personal brand, your highest leverage is going to be being the face of the personal brand. It's not going to be running operations. It's not going to be running sales or marketing. It's to be the face. So all of these guys that you see on the biggest podcasts, right? How do you think they have time to make so much content? It's because they have teams to do everything else that's not about the content. So their job is really just to be a glorified content creator and they mask themselves as a business person, and they are a business person, and they just understand that their highest leverage is being out there and gaining attention. And like I said before, the game is get as much attention as possible, high quality attention that's willing to spend money, and liquidate that attention and make money from it. And a lot of times, if you're selling coaching, consulting, and things like that, you're selling proximity to you. So when I sell Founder X, a lot of times people buy because number one, I understand their problems and I help them build a following and monetize. Cool. But the other thing is because they want to get closer to me. It's like getting closer to the sun, because it's the closer you get to someone that has achieved what you want to achieve, the higher likelihood you are to achieve that goal. And as you start creating content, you start building a team, really all you have to do is hire for content creators, editors, people coming up with ideas and scripts, monetization teams. So whether that's landing pages, emails, sales teams, right? And then the delivery, the coaching of actually providing support to help the person do the thing, or services if you're, to do whatever it is you promise you're going to do. So at the end of the day, your job, it's kind of like an octopus, right? Your job is to be the head. Everybody else is like a little arm, and everybody has their role. And that is how the machine works when you're trying to scale at a professional level. And you don't need to have a huge team, right? You could have one salesperson, one editor, one coach who coaches them after they buy, right? You can have a team of less than 5 people and run a very profitable coaching business. So don't think you have to have like 20 or 30 employees to make good money. You can do it with a small, tiny team and be like very lean, remote team, because that's really popular these days, right? And it is true, it does work. So if you made it this far, you probably are super serious about building a personal brand and monetizing it and selling coaching, consulting, and courses and things of that nature. So at this point, I highly encourage you to check out the link in the description for the free training that will show you exactly how the Founder X program works and how it can help you achieve your dreams of building your personal brand and making money doing what you love. So I put a link in the description. You're going to see all the testimonials and exactly how you can work directly with me on a group coaching basis and even a one-on-one basis for some people. So, I only take on a couple clients each month. And if that's you and you want to apply and talk to my team, feel free to fill out the application after you check out the free training. With that said, I will see you in the next one.